Good afternoon, friends, business partners, social friends that are connected to me and my co-host from wherever you're coming into our live stream conversation today from. Hopefully, if your weather, like ours, is I would say it's a nice, hot, sunny day. Hey, welcome to July. So here we are. Before I ask my co-host to join us in the live stream, let me make sure he's ready. Because, guys, listen to this. Maybe you know this already about Greg. When he is not actively helping you, all of you, with your real estate life events, he's doing this. He's getting his workout. So let me make sure. I'm going to text him right now. Let me make sure that he's ready to hit the shore, change up a little bit, and join us in today's live stream of Real Living in Bolingbrook. And before we bring him into the conversation, for those of you who already know this, given all of these events and happenings in the summer of Greater Chicagoland, we've got this thing called Lollapalooza, right? So because of that, let's give Greg a rip-roaring rock star welcome like he deserves, as if he were to, showcase his skills at Lollapalooza. So here goes, Greg. Get changed up, buddy. Ready? Yep, Greg, they're cheering you on, buddy.
Hey, what's going on, Bill? How are you? Enjoyed the introduction. Thank you.
You talk welcome.
You talk about the weather here in Chicago being warm and sunny. You're in Elmhurst. I'm in Bolingbrook, and I have a wicked storm right outside my window. My dog is actually scratching at my door, trying to get in.
I see the dark clouds kind of rushing toward me as well. Yeah. So, hey, it's summer thunderstorms. What are you going to get?
Yes, exactly. And, kayaking, I just went kayaking a couple of days ago with my wife. Yeah, but it was nothing like the picture that you showed where the guy's paddling. I'm in a river that's already moving, so I just kind of steer it straight and I'm good to go.
So you're kind of like on autopilot, huh?
Yeah, autopilot, easy. But the river was very high and it was moving fast.
Good. So I got to ask you a question. For someone who's never gone kayaking, what is your first bit of advice to them?
Probably don't go too far. Plan your route and plan on a 2 to 3 hour kayak. If you get longer than 3 hours, it gets pretty grueling because you're in that sitting position. You want to, you can always get up and stand up, but I would recommend like a 2 hour journey and know where you're going to get out and all that kind of stuff. We always put either one car at one area, the pickup area, and we go to the start point, or we have somebody pick you up over there, when you're done. So
yeah. As far as standing up, though, I gotta ask, isn't that kind of dangerous? You don't want to stand up in the kayak; you might fall over, right?
Well, not in the kayak, but in the river. So the river is most of the river is only about a foot deep, 2 feet deep. So you can easily get out. And this is the DuPage River too. So
Okay. Have you ever kayaked downtown Chicago River like the tourists do?
no, if they have a lot of boat traffic, it would be a real pain in the butt.
Yeah,
So,
that's my thinking as well.
yeah, no, this is just smooth sailing. It's very
Yeah.
relaxing, beautiful. You see a lot of wildlife, that kind of stuff.
All right. So while you're kayaking, let's now get you shifting into first gear to talk about some real estate stuff. So as you're kayaking, I got to ask the question: are there times when you're kayaking, you're thinking like, all right, uh, what offers should my sellers consider? How do I want to present it to my sellers? Do you have those conversations with yourself?
No, but I'll tell you one thing that did happen to me is I was
Okay.
kayaking with my wife, and we were maybe about an hour and a half before we were going to be done, and my buyer called and really wanted to see this property today, like now. So
Really?
yeah, so I told him I could meet you there like in an hour and a half. Give me enough time to run home and take a shower and go.
Right. Right.
So the rest of that trip, we were hauling to get to the end, because his time was very limited, and I had to hurry. I just had to hurry as fast as I could to get to
Oh
the
my gosh. What a story. So, social friends, local friends to Greg and myself, and business partners. Listen to Greg. I mean, the guy is huffing it to meet the request of that unique
end.
buyer. Love
Hey,
that one,
whatever it
Greg.
takes, whatever it takes.
That's true. In this day and age, you got to do what it takes. You got to
Yeah.
do what it takes. So, let's now talk about some real estate stuff. Okay. Catch me up on this. Since our last episode, talk to us about what are some current trends happening right now, and maybe add to that a local market update as far as what's happening in Bolingbrook.
Yeah, so you were asking me earlier too how the inventory level is going in Bolingbrook,
Yeah.
and the inventory level is still low. It's still extremely low, but it's starting to move up. I
I
was
see
looking
that.
at how many houses uh, are available for sale, and there's 82 in Bolingbrook as of June,
Okay.
and as of June last year there was 63. So it went
Wow.
from 63 to 82. Now, why is that happening?
Yeah.
Well, one could be that the home values have also surged from looking at a sale price last year of 371 and now it's 391. So
Mm-hmm.
home prices, home appreciation is still happening pretty big, and interest rates are still kind of high.
Yeah.
So homes are sitting a little bit longer on the market. Buyers are holding off, I think, sitting on the sidelines, but we just have a lack of inventory. I heard in Illinois here, we are short about 240,000 units, housing
Yeah.
units.
We
Uh,
are.
yeah, so that's extremely low. So we're still there. I don't know. Maybe one of these months we're going to have a big breakout, but it's just not happening now. But the trend is starting to go in the other direction, stabilizing
Okay.
and going back a little bit better. So,
Okay. So for our consumers, our friends who are thinking about selling, it's still a great time to sell, right?
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
And I know you and your business partner, you guys are bringing on some pretty interesting, some pretty fancy listings, Greg.
Yes, yeah. There's a lot of listings that we have, and more coming on the market. We have some new marketing initiatives that we're going to be rolling out here soon. So I think
Okay.
that's going to even draw some more listings for us to
All
have.
right.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's,
Cool.
it's
So
kind of exciting.
yeah. So for any of you watching today's live stream live because you're playing hooky while Greg and I are working, well, we sometimes play hooky too on an afternoon, or you're catching this on demand and you're thinking about selling your home because you've got a next chapter that you must get to. and you haven't committed to the right real estate broker professional, hit up Greg. We'll show you toward the end of today's live stream how you can reach out to Greg and start that conversation. So stay tuned until the end. So Greg, like we did in our previous episode, 4 weeks back, I asked you, I said, hey, Greg, let's do a simple banter back and forth, you and I, sharing some common questions that you get from clients, both sellers and buyers. Okay. So I thought for today, let's continue with that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what might be a common question that you get from sellers?
Well, it's not so much on the top of my head, not so much a common question, but I would point out, what you or me, you as a mortgage loan officer, or me as a realtor, think is kind of common sense. To just the average seller or buyer, it's not common sense at all. So even some simple concepts such as earnest money, and the seller asking me, so I get to keep that earnest money then, even if they cancel. And it's like, well, no. This is how it works, and you have to kind of explain how it goes. But even some simple things like that we take for granted as being simple, the average person, doesn't know. That's why it's so important that when I have a buyer or seller, I'm really walking them through every step of the way.
Yeah. But there are some unique circumstances where a seller can keep the buyer's earnest money, right? And that always boils down to if the buyer is goofing off, doing stupid stuff, is not performing after the contractor is already in play.
Yeah. So after you're beyond the 5-day attorney review period time and you're out of attorney review, if the buyer simply decides that, I kind of like the house across the street instead of this one, so I want my money back, well, it doesn't work that way. You took the house off the market, right? The sellers are going to keep it. But just about any other reason, can't get a loan, they get their money back. Cancel within the first day attorney review period, first 5 days, they get their money back. I've seen even some situations where the buyer, the husband and wife, were at the last minute getting a divorce, and it was maybe 5 days before closing was supposed to happen, and the seller still gave them the money back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Usually when you're in a situation where the buyer is trying to get their money back beyond that time, a lot of times it comes to where you have agreed upon, we'll keep half, you keep half, kind of a situation.
Yeah. Well, I guess being human, why pour salt on a wound, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. What's another common question that you get, that you face?
That I get as a selling agent or as a buyer's agent?
A selling agent.
Okay. Well, the main thing is with the sellers, of course, they always want to know what's my net going to be after I sell. But they all want to know, what do I need to do to my home to get it ready to go on the market? They all want to know. And even though people, kind of think that they know what needs to happen in order for them to put their home on the market, what they're really asking is, like, this specific room, my dining room, what do I need to do to get this dining room ready? So I go through the room and I tell them, and then even after that, even after they box up stuff, I have my stager go in and stage it. So, but we'll go from that room, then we'll go to the living room, the family room, the kitchen, and I go through and I tell them what they need to do to get their home ready. But that's another one of those things where the seller thinks that they know, but then when it comes down to the time of, I'm ready to put my home I want to sell my house, then they're kind of like deer in headlights, like, what do I do? So that's when they need some professional advice.
I hear you. Well, let's shift gears now and do the same thing with buyers. Okay. So I'll lead off with this one. So a common question I get from a buyer, it kind of it is kind of the mirror effect of what you leaned in earlier talking about earnest money. The question I get is this, Greg. You're gonna chuckle a little bit, and that is, so Bill says buyer John Doe, the earnest money of X dollars, let's say it's 10 G's, is that in addition to those figures that I'm staring at in your initial loan disclosures? And two things are happening when I get that question. One is, well, I scratch my head. Well, buyer John Doe, are you reading everything that we're putting in front of you that we have to by ethics and by law? And
Right.
then second, right, if they are reading it, then of course, to that common question, I always lean in and say, well, your earnest money is a part of your funds for closing. And if we've accounted for it as a credit, then boom, it shows up there. If we intentionally, sometimes we do it this way, have not accounted for your earnest money as a credit, then it's really buried in that funds for closing number, whether it's large number or a small number, right?
Right.
Yeah. Another buyer question I get, and by the way, this is starting to happen a little bit more often, and that is a buyer initially is writing an offer with you, let's say. It's a cash purchase. You know what that means, right? Very few contingencies. And then afterwards, I get dragged into the picture with, says buyer Jane Smith now. I think I want to source financing. I don't want to let go all of my cash. And the question now is, common question I get, what must I do?
Mm-hmm.
And you know how I answer that question.
Oh, you froze.